It's another episode of Mild-Mannered Madness here at Chateau de Pican. This week we go searching for a secret well. We're held up by heat, dogged by deadlines, and we're sung to by Sting. While I was working in the old laundry room, I had a thought that might solve some of our summer water problems. To explain why I was thinking about this, I should remind you how this room used to look. This large cylinder was a water storage tank for well water. Our well is across the driveway in the opposite field. Some of you may remember some time back I was trying to repair an old hand water pump. Thinking back to that time, I didn't remember seeing any pipework going to the well that could have gone back to the chateau. So if that well wasn't used for household water, where was the one that was? I'd have to investigate. These were thoughts I pondered as I got on with the work in hand, but acting on them would have to wait. Over the last couple of weeks, we've enjoyed the company of friends and family and, well, I've fallen somewhat behind schedule. And since it's not like us to be without a deadline, we of course do have a deadline. We're expecting a visit from Chateau DIY in 2 weeks, and they aren't going to want to see me messing about with these walls or the floor tiles again. So, in that time we need to get the walls plastered, the floor tiled, including removing the old tiles, an utterly endless and demoralising task, and make a start on the shower room. In any other season than summer, it would seem like there was a lot of work to do. But because it is summer, it feels nigh on impossible in this never-ending heatwave. You may notice that I'm wearing odd shoes. Bunty's favourite game is to run off with them. They can be found upstairs or across the garden. On this occasion, I couldn't find my other work boot anywhere, and I settled for a sandal. Not ideal. This last section was seemingly plastered entirely with tile adhesive. It was rock hard. So that's all the tiles off this wall. And I know a couple of people have been a little bit concerned about removing these old tiles, but they're probably 50, 60 years old at the most, I think. And they've been installed wrong for these walls anyway. And as you might be able to see, the lower sort of 30 centimeters or so of the wall is a slightly darker shade than the rest of it. And I strongly suspect that's because there's damp in the wall that just can't get out at the minute. So now it's been able to start to work its way out. And so it's been like that for 50 years in this room. There's just no way for the moisture to escape, because we're a little worried that the render on the outside might not be. It may be, might not be, we're not entirely sure, but it might not be breathable either, in which case these walls have been struggling for a very long time. So this will release them, the walls will be happier. And when all the tiles come off, it started to smell a little bit damp, which it did with the other parts of the wall as well. So here it is. So the next thing will be to get all the crumbly old bits of lime mortar off. So we're back to a solid wall, and then I can start slapping on some more lime mortar and build the wall up, and before you know it, the room will start to look nice. It's about time it started to look nice. Which reminds me, I've got to get rid of this. I thought this light was on a permanent live with an internal pull cord switch, and so I'd planned to isolate and remove it completely, until I found a light switch for it by testing the wires. Now we can have a wall sconce in the sitting area of the suite. I finished the day with a half-hearted effort to scrape off blown plaster and old lime render to get back to the solid sublayers of the wall.
The next morning, we were treated to a very peculiar sunrise. We don't live particularly close to Bordeaux where the wildfires are, but couldn't help but wonder if this was an atmospheric effect of the smoke. The first things I do in the morning are to release the dogs for their pre-breakfast ablutions, then feed the indoor pets, then feed water and muck out the horses, and do any early morning watering in the garden. All this is without getting dressed or stopping for a cup of tea. It was at this moment that the local roofing company turned up unexpectedly to inspect and repair our roof. We'd suffered some roof damage months ago due to Storm Nils. As the damage had been minor, we were near the bottom of the list for repairs, but I'd recently sent a follow-up email and was absolutely delighted to see him turn up with his mobile cherry picker unannounced. With the skill of a man at one with his equipment, he effortlessly manoeuvred his way up above the roof. It was a surprisingly swift repair. The ridge flashing was reseated and screwed into place, and several tiles reseated. We took the opportunity to ask him to inspect part of the roof on the north side as well, and he went up there too, identified the issue, and said he will send us a bill and a quote. What a hero. I just hope it's affordable.
So after having a little bit of a look around, I discovered something. Well, I discovered a bush, which wasn't a bush. Let me show you. So the chateau is just there. So we're right in front of the chateau. And oddly enough, it's in the most obvious place for a well to be. Hang on, where is it? Here we are. This bush here, it turns out, is not a bush at all. Well, it is a bush.
When is a bush not a bush?
Well, exactly.
When it's a well.
When it's a pump house.
Pump house, that sounds exciting.
Yeah. I'm not wearing the best shoes for this, but if we come around here, this bush is actually just ivy. And where is it? Ow. Ivy and bramble, of course. Ow. So you can see there's a wall there behind all that ivy. So, ow. So here we have, look, secret entrance.
Ooh.
To a concrete bunker and a pump.
Yeah, it's quite substantial, isn't it?
Yeah. So water comes out there, goes to the chateau. So this is Pompe Guinard. I don't know that. We'll have to try and look that up to see if we can work out how old it is. What have we got in here? All I did was find this. I've not actually done any work at all on working out how this pump is attached. Oh, actually, that pump isn't attached. That's just sitting there. So if I can detach this, I think they're just bolts. So I can unbolt that. Oh, hang on. I couldn't see it before. There's a pipe goes out the back. So if I take this off, it doesn't necessarily mean there'll be a hole there. This might be trickier than we imagined.
And there's a black power lead. Is that right? Is that what that is?
Yeah. So that's the lead that goes back to the chateau as well.
Mm.
Oh, for some reason I imagined when I first saw it that would...
There'd be a shaft.
Yeah, there'd be a shaft underneath it, but I imagine that's just sitting on part of the concrete base. I'll see if I can uncover it. I can always try drilling a hole. It's late July, so that means the MARCIAC Jazz Festival. The headline act was Sting. Ourselves and about 10,000 other people crammed in to see him. It got hot. We had to stand outside.
My daughter Anna was visiting, and we spent a lovely early evening at our favourite pop-up venue watching live music. There was even an artist making fast paintings of the musicians. The food, the garden and the atmosphere are truly magical, and we were blown away by the next jazz quartet.
Back in the old laundry room, I was making more of an effort to strip the walls back. The old render coat seems to be a rough cast mix. There was a lot of blown render that needed to come off, but that didn't mean it was in any way easy. The fourth heatwave of the summer was on the way, but there had hardly been any drop in temperature for any length of time in between each. This just meant that any work more strenuous than lifting a cocktail glass to your mouth made us sweat buckets.
I hope you can hear me over the noise of this. I'm making up some lime mortar. Last time I made this, I had a bit of problem. I probably mixed it in the wrong order and it all went a bit clumpy in there. So I'm trying again. So I'm going to be using NHL 3.5 lime. I'm not an expert in lime production at all. I'm going by advice and videos and that sort of thing. But I'm mixing 3-to-1 lime. So I've made a mark in my bucket. I'm going to fill up sand to there, the lime to there, and mix it up and see how we get on. Okay, that's all the sharp sand and the lime mixed in. So I'm going to leave that to homogenize for about 5 minutes or so, just dry, and then I'm going to start adding water and we'll see how it goes. The last time I did it, I said it went wrong. Embarrassingly, it was being filmed by Channel 4 for Chateau DIY. So next year, I'm going to look like an idiot on TV.
I slowly added water and let it mix for 5 minutes or so. And thankfully this time, I got it right.
So imagine my alarm when I first saw that. And I went trotting over to see what had happened. Jane was face down on the ground, her phone just in front of her, like something terrible had happened. And when I spoke to her, she wondered why I'd gone over, because she was just having a snooze. And 10 minutes later, she's still there. I think she's taken a lesson from Lord Percy, who can't get more than about 10 feet before having a lie down. She said she's grounding herself. I mean, it has been very hot lately.
Uncomfortable.
How sweet. There used to be a door to it. There's a couple of hinges there. No hinges on this side. No sign of a lock either. Latch. It might seem like just a boring old concrete pump house, but what's interesting about it is I don't know whether this is on top of a much older it's been unwired here as well as in the house, so that wire does nothing, but at least it still exists. So this could be a much older well than the other one we've found. You can see down there that pipe, and part of me thinks that's the new pipe that is actually. No, I'm still confused. I'm confused as to where the well is, whether it's off to the side there, or whether it's not in this pump house at all, whether it's wherever the pipe that goes out the back is. So clearing this away is fine, but I'm not convinced we're actually on top of the well. So I'm going to have to do some more investigative work. Somewhere in here is the other pipe that comes out the back wall and then down. So if I can find that, possibly there'll be a plate and that'll be where the well is. I'm not sure.
As I was hacking away at the overgrown bush, insert euphemism of your choice, the clues began to fall into place. If the electrical wire and one pipe went to the chateau, then obviously they would be buried in the same trench, the pipe on the left. Also, why build a pump house on top of a well? Why not build it just to the side? For one thing, you'd need to maintain an access hatch to the well. Can't do that if you've just plonked a pump house on top. I carried on trimming, getting ever hopeful I was now on the right track.
I found a plate. So here is a concrete plate, and this pipe goes into it. Ooh. So the pipe, there's a bit of a hole around where the pipe is. Yep, it's a definite hole into the abyss. There's a seal here. So I think I'm standing on top of the well. So if it suddenly gave way now, perhaps I'd go a-plummeting. I found a stash of nails that have been abandoned. They've been left here for some reason, never been used. We have an archaeological side quest. Look at these 6-inch nails, or however long they are, I don't know. They were in a packet and they were left here to rot. Shame it wasn't a pot of gold, but interesting nonetheless. And some old string. Can't have enough old string lying about the place. So a packet of nails has been left here for whatever reason and never used, and there we go. Somebody wasted a few francs probably.
I was now convinced I'd found the well cover, but what would we find inside? The skeleton of someone that had been thrown in? Probably not, but I was hoping to find that the well was much older than the other, more modern concrete well we had in the other field.
Oh my God, I found it!
I must apologise. What I was looking at was much more fascinating than my sweaty pants which are on display. Still, it's better than a bum crack.
Gosh, that's incredible. I found the well, I found the well. And you can see some really old pipes, so they've obviously been sucking up water out of here for a very long time. And this steel pipe that goes in and then goes in there and then up to the shadow, that's the last in a long line of old water extraction pumping devices. But I found the well, and what is even better is it's an old well. It's got stone walls, which is way better than that crappy one over there. This is amazing. I'm so pleased. What to do with it? I suppose one thing would be to try and, if it's circular, ultimately rebuild it up with decorative stone circular and have it like a lovely old well. The other thing would be to ensure that we can use this water, because there is water. I can see some. If we can use the well water, we can find out how deep it is and see if it's viable as a water source to use year round for the garden and things like that. That'd be amazing. Let's see if we can see the bottom of the well. Let me try and zoom in and see what we can find.
Struth, that is a deep hole. We had an extremely rare overcast day and I was making the most of it. Not only was it cloudy, but we were also enjoying a few spots of rain. My lime render was mixed and the walls were prepped. It doesn't go on as easily as gypsum-based plasters. When I do it, I find I need to apply it with a bit more pressure. This leads to pondering my life choices as the sweat drips into my eyes for the 5th time. The walls had been doused with water several times before I started the work, but I had to keep spritzing as I went. This section of wall would need 2 base layers and 1 top coat. Even though this is far from a smooth finish, I keyed the surface, which will hopefully ensure the next layer has something to mechanically bond to.
We were very pleased to find that we'd got wisteria growing here. When we moved in, it had been cut right down to the ground, so it wasn't clear at all what we'd got. Somebody had obviously found an out of control wisteria and thought the best way to treat it was to cut it right back to ground level, which wasn't the right thing to do. So we've ended up with at least a very healthy wisteria. There are 2 plants, but it made vast tendrils which were all over the grass, and then it was somewhat tamed and it flowered nicely this year and last. But even if it was in perfect condition, July is the time that needs to be cut back. So I'm a little bit late, but it's still technically July. So it's all about cutting back to the main structure. It's quite hard to see what the main structure is because it's quite wild. But basically we're going up and over the door, and pretty much everything else needs to come off. And you're supposed to cut after about 5 or 6 leaves from the main structure. But I'm going to be going at it quite hard.
I had thought I was going to remove all the strands that were up on the balcony, but then I noticed that this one has some flower buds on, so I couldn't bring myself to cut it. Maybe one strand with pendulous flowers across the top of the balcony might be lovely. Rory needed some horsehair for his lime mortar. Harry's tail was touching the ground, so was due for a trim. There'll still be plenty left to swish the flies.
I've got some of Harry here, so I'm going to just chop it down to about 40 millimeters or something like that. In that section of wall that's behind me, behind the door, there are some very deep pockets that need to be filled. And so I'm going to use horsehair to help bind the lime mortar and make it a little bit more flexible, I suppose, and it can help bridge the pits. They've been doing it for hundreds of years, so I assume they knew what they were talking about. Ooh, it's quite sharp and coarse.
Rebuilding a chateau wall with a horse is not as simple as it sounds. I found it much easier to apply the render by hand. The horsehair and the slightly coarser sand in the base coat made it hard to slake with a trowel, but by hand it went on beautifully. Sadly, I hadn't realised I'd knelt in lime, and later that day I developed chemical burns all over my knees.
It's even got an old ring pull. Used to have one here until they smashed it off. Well, there we go. This is coming off. Wowzers. That is way bigger than I thought it was. Way bigger. And I actually feel a little bit crouching over the top of it. Let me show you in the well. I'll try not to drop you in because that would be disastrous. So we can see it's a proper old well, and I'd say it's hard to see, but from one side to the other I reckon it's about 1.5 meters wide. And yeah, it's the old old stone-built well. It's been here for a very long time, and there's plenty of water in there. So as I was saying earlier, there's this pipe here is maybe the last one to be used, and then there's another one under it which I think is still in the pump house at the back of the pump. Maybe that's an overflow, I don't know how it works. But then this one here is an older one perhaps. Maybe that was the first one. Suppose the next thing is to try and find out how deep it is.
What have you done?
Do you want to see my big hole?
I think I do. Oh, you've dismantled things.
Well, I found it had a concrete lid on it.
So it's all on this side.
Yeah.
The well's all on this side.
Yeah, after doing a load of digging on the inside, I discovered that it was likely on the outside.
Okay. Oh, interesting. So, ooh, I don't want to fall in. Oh, wow. It's quite deep, isn't it? Looks very murky.
Well, water in a black hole is likely to be murky.
So what's that pipe on this side?
Well, there's been a couple of times. Yeah, so I guess it's just an old pipe that's been left in place.
Don't push me in, but it's an old well, isn't it?
It is an old well,
You
yeah.
can see the walls of it.
Yeah.
It's an old well. Oh, well, that makes it very interesting.
It does indeed, and it's quite wide.
Yeah.
When I was crouched down over it, I was feeling a little bit like, ooh.
Well, that's exciting, isn't it? Gosh, you don't want to fall in there.
No. No, but it's great that we found it.
Yeah.
The next thing will be to see how deep it is and see about using it, I suppose.
Using an immersion heater spanner as a weight, we prepared to plumb the depths. If there was 2 meters of water, I'd be overjoyed.
Oh, that's it.
Oh dear. We're into sludge.
Yeah, so it's only half a metre of water or something?
Right. Of course, it has been a drought. We are in a drought.
Yeah. Well, that's our well. Sadly, it's not nearly as deep as I'd hoped. Even 2 meters of water would have been brilliant, but half a metre maybe. There's not a lot of water left in there at the moment. And yes, in the less droughty times of year, there'll be more water, but that doesn't necessarily help us in the summer.
Droughty time.
No, because if we're pumping that out, that'll empty quite quickly, and then it might be a while before it refills from groundwater. But hey, we've got an old well. It's a proper old well as well, made of old things.
Yeah, and you found it, so...
Yeah.
And it's possibly viable, but just would need a bit of renovation, I guess.
Yeah. It's good to know it's there.
Good to know it's there.
Incidentally, the unusual width of this well and its location may well suggest that it predates the chateau by a long time. Situated closer to the road than the building could mean that it once served a hamlet or was used by travellers on a coaching route or by livestock. With a camera in the well, we can see recesses that most likely once held wooden beams. Supports for a windlass to raise buckets, perhaps? On the opposite side, we can see the remnants of a beam that's been cut. I think finding the well is raising more questions than it's answering about its history. We may never know everything, but it's really good to know we found it, and we really hope that one day we can reuse it. Thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you next time.